Once upon a time, in a hidden corner of Lagos Island, a woman ruled behind the walls of wealth and whispered warnings. They called her Madam Osas, a name spoken in reverence and fear. She was elegance woven into flesh, draped in expensive lace fabrics, threaded with gold, her skin glowing with the sheen of imported oils, her presence trailing perfume and secrets. She owned three big textile businesses that dressed the wives of governors, rich women who hosted international galas, and the elites of Lagos who were hosting and attending weddings. Her shops were landmarks of style and power, but even then, everyone knew fabric was just her mask. But she wasn't always Madame Osas. She was born Osaretin Ehige in the smoke-choked alleys of Benin City. She was the daughter of a taxi driver who drank recklessly and a pepper seller who died giving birth to her. Osaretin's childhood was forged in hardship. She sold sachet water on express roads and swept bus parks to earn scraps. By 13, she slept in Danfo buses, woke up to sirens, and dodged the hands of drunk men. Beauty became her defense and wit became her weapon. She entered the world of velvet shadows at an early age. One day, while Osaretin was selling pure water on the street as usual, a sleek black Toyota Camry car stopped right in front of her. And an older woman known as Auntie Gloria stepped out and called her attention. "Young girl, you are too young to be on the street hawking by yourself. Shouldn't you be in school? Where is your mother?" she asked. "My mother is dead," Osaretin replied calmly. Auntie Gloria took one good look at her and told her to get into the car, telling her that she would take care of her. Auntie Gloria was a retired prostitute who ran a big brothel filled with many homeless girls she had picked off the street and sold to rich men. That day, Auntie Gloria took her in, fed her, clothed her, and sold her to men like she did with other girls. Osaretin learned to smile without blinking, to make the powerful beg, and to give everything and nothing all at once. Soon Auntie Gloria died, leaving Osaretin and the other girls to fend for themselves. The girls kept living at the brothel, since servicing men was the only life they knew, so they continued in the business. By 17, Osaretin was known across Nigerian's elite as Madam Silk. She did not take drugs, she did not flinch, but she negotiated like a politician, listened like a therapist, and remembered every name whispered in her bed. Then, a mysterious fire broke out at the brothel. No one knew who started it. Some said it was a rival madam. Others said Osaretin herself lit the flame so that she could vanish with a suitcase full of cash. When the police arrived, the brothel was already burned to ashes. Osaretin was gone, and the other girls didn't have a place to stay, so they all turned to the streets. 2 years later, Osaretin moved to Lagos, and Lagos Island welcomed the new queen of commerce, Madam Osas. She reappeared, polished and terrifying, with a new name and a trail of money long enough to silence curiosity. Her textile shops popped up like shrines, her staff bowed when she entered, and her customers left praises in hushed voices. Yet it wasn't fabrics that made her rich. Every month, Madam Osas's bulletproof SUVs left Lagos for the rural roads, entering into rural villages in Nigeria. She dressed as a saint, wearing plain wrappers and a motherly smile. She traveled with food supplies, school books, and Bibles. Local pastors announced her visits and village women prepared feasts to welcome her. She knelt before elders, met with poor parents of young girls, and promised salvation with a polished accent. "Your daughter will become a doctor, a lawyer, a Lagos big woman," she said, flashing gold teeth and a warm grin. She spoke different languages like Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Ibibio, and Edo, and she knew how to speak to the desperate parents who had never left their villages. They handed over their daughters to Madam Osas in tears and joy, thanking God for divine intervention. The gates of her Ikoyi mansion opened wide. Inside it were neatly polished marble floors, chandelier-lit rooms, Italian leather furnitures, and air-conditioned rooms. The girls entered like pilgrims, but the air inside was heavy, the lights too bright and the silence too perfect. Within a week, their dreams were laced with sedatives, their clothes replaced, and their phones confiscated. The rules were simple: no crying, no escape, and no questions. Madam Osas had staff who helped ensure her business ran smoothly. There was Okoro, the bouncer, a towering, dark-eyed, muscular man, standing at 6 feet 5. Okoro was a former prison guard, known for breaking bones with open palms. He watched them like a predator with a leash. And there was Nurse Ifeoma, the midwife, who moved in shadows and handled babies like products. The girls were trained in the art of performance, how to smile without meaning it, how to dance like the night depended on it, how to speak English with just enough accent to make a foreigner curious. They were sold to senators, oil magnates, visiting dignitaries, and men whose names appeared in the newspapers for different reasons. When a girl became pregnant, she was sedated, and the child would be removed in secret, and babies sold to rich barren women, often the wives of the same men who paid to destroy them. When the girl gained consciousness, she was told the child died, and the he buyer was told the mother died during childbirth. Paperwork was forged, silence bought, and the machine kept turning. Some girls vanished, others died in quiet agony. But Madame Osas thrived. Until Efe. Efe Iduos was 19, sharp as a blade and twice as dangerous. She was born in Owan East in Edo State, raised by Mama Blessing, a widow who sold boiled maize and palm oil in the village market. Efe had fire in her eyes and law books in her lap. She quoted statutes like scripture and swore to one day bring justice to places where even the sun refused to shine. When Madam Osas came to her village, draped in simple Ankara clothes and promises, Efe's mother fell to her knees in gratitude. But Efe's smile was thin. She entered the mansion with quiet suspicion and observed. The other girls did not speak much. Their eyes were glassy. The walls echoed too softly, and the men who visited left without greetings. On her first night, she was forced into a tight red gown and placed in the back of a black SUV. Her eyes burned, her fists trembled. She planned to leap from the vehicle, to scream, to run. Instead, she met Fola. He was soft-spoken, with kind eyes and a scar on his chin. He asked her name gently. When she didn't answer, he leaned close. "You don't have to say anything," he whispered. But Efe said something. "Please, help me," she said, looking scared. But Fola wasn't a client. He was an undercover journalist for the Truth Underground, a banned publication that exposed things the government pretended didn't exist. He grew up in Mushin. He was the son of a cleaner who was raped by her employer and later died giving birth. Fola never forgave the system. He and his best friend Timmy, a sharp-tongued hacker. Together, they had tried to bring down Madame Osas for years, but no one talked. The ones that tried to talk didn't survive long enough. Until Efe. After explaining everything to Efe, together they hatched a plan. Fola passed her a phone hidden in a bar of soap, and Efe became a spy. She passed him names, photos, dates, recordings of negotiations, ledgers hidden behind kitchen pantries, and a network that stretched across borders. They met in secret and hidden corners, an abandoned church, a market stall, and once in a public toilet. Each time she gave him more evidence, and each time he warned her to be more careful as he was getting more dangerous. I don't want to escape, she told him once, eyes dark with fury. I want her to fall. Okoro started noticing her strange behavior and movements, and he started watching her. He once searched her room. Another time, he caught her snooping through Madam Osas's phone, and he slapped her hard enough to leave her ear ringing for days. That evening, Madam Osas summoned her privately and stared at her with eyes that could freeze blood. You think you're clever? She asked. Remember this, I made you and I can break you. Efe bled that night. But she didn't stop. After they had gathered enough evidence, they waited for an opportunity to strike. Then the 10th anniversary of Madam Osas's first textile shop came. A gala like no other. Musicians performed, politicians arrived in convoys, foreign investors danced with girls in masks. Efe wore a green gown and stood among the crowd trying to blend in while watching them closely. Meanwhile, Timmy hacked the security cameras, and Fola dressed as a waiter, while other journalists planted cameras in chandeliers and flower pots. Heavily armed federal agents waited outside, with loaded guns, waiting for the signal. Madam Osas took the stage in glittering gold and smiled like a queen. 10 years ago, she began, I started with nothing but fabric and faith. The lights went off, and the generator failed. The compound flooded with sirens. Screams erupted. Fola tackled Okoro, and Timmy shut down every escape route. The police rushed in. In the midst of the chaos, a girl no older than 13 collapsed in an officer's arms. Madam Osas ran for the tunnel beneath the house, but Efe stood there waiting. You, Madam Osas spat. Do you know who I am and what I can do to you? Efe's voice was calm. Yes, and so does the world now. She clicked the body cam, and the red light started flashing. The arrest made national headlines. Hidden files, blackmail, names of clients including dignitaries and politicians were revealed. The media descended. Some clients resigned, others fled. One senator was found dead in his pool 3 days later. The trial lasted for months. Madam Osas claimed innocence, and her lawyers blamed witches, poverty, and conspiracies. But there were too many witnesses, too much evidence, too many ghosts in silk. Efe testified. So did over 30 girls who had suffered the same fate in the hands of Madam Osas. Fola and Timmy presented the court with recordings, photos, and ledgers. Then international human rights groups joined the case. Madam Osas was sentenced to life in prison without parole, while Okoro was sentenced to 25 years in prison, and Nurse Ifeoma vanished. With the help of Fola, Efe returned to school on scholarship. She studied law and graduated with honors. 2 months later, Fola proposed to Efe, and she accepted. I don't want gold, he said. I want truth. I want you. They got married at a local church in Benin with Timmy as his best man. Mama Blessing wept in joy. Together, they launched the Lost Daughters Initiative, a sanctuary for girls rescued from trafficking. They provided therapy, shelter, and legal aid for the girls. And by the second year, they'd saved over 100 lives. Today, the mansion that once caged dreams is a shelter called the House of Names, each room named after a survivor, On the wall outside, a mural stands. It was painted by the girls themselves. It shows a girl in red, breaking golden chains. And beneath it, in bold black letters, "Not every helper is heaven sent."